where they killed everyone, 60 people, 20 children. That's not important for people like you, but that's important for people like us. For you, people like you who support ethnosupremacism.
Professor Marandi was speaking to a propaganda shill, and it's just fun to watch him tear down their garbage. And she does the, well, I'm just asking questions, what's the big deal?
Did Iran majorly miscalculate? Because even now, President Trump is providing Iran with an off-ramp, telling them to come to the negotiating table. At what point will Iran take that offer?
Well, according to your narrative, Iran always miscalculates. It's a regime. I heard the regime 20 times in the last 10 minutes as I was listening. You sound like TASS news agency upgraded during the Soviet Union. And you say the regime is unpopular and is killing its people. When General Soleimani was murdered by the same Trump that you talk about, millions of people came to the streets of this city, Tehran, that I'm in. So how is it that he's so unpopular?
But also, you notice that she's very carefully couching it as Iran's unpopular, Iran is losing, Iran miscalculated. Netanyahu's ridiculously unpopular in Israel right now. He also is under corruption charges. If he ever isn't president, he'll probably go to jail. You notice she's just saying, oh, they're unpopular. She says, oh, they miscalculated. But there's an easy argument to make that Israel has miscalculated. Iran's a country of 90 million people. They clearly are capable of bombing Israel. They're strong allies with Russia and China. There's an easy argument to make that Israel is the one miscalculating. But of course, she's not asking that.
This propaganda that you're producing is only justifying aggression. What the Israeli regime did was aggression. What it did was unjustified aggression. And Netanyahu has been saying for over 30 years, some say up to 40 years, he's been saying that Iran's on the verge of creating a nuclear weapon. And thanks to people like you, he gets away with these lies. But people can go online and check how many times he said.
Professor Marandi, if you could just focus on, I know your narrative and I know the line you take, and we've spoken a number of times, and I'm sure, but if you could just focus on answering the question, in terms of the nuclear talks, on day 60, as far as we know, Donald Trump had said Iran has 60 days. Israel attacked on the 61st day. Can we talk a little bit about the regime's...
As if Trump saying Iran has 60 days matters. Why does Trump get to say that? What right does he have to say, oh, you have 60 days before we bomb the shit out of you over fake nuclear weapons that you don't have? That's unbelievable.
Competence levels, the intelligence and security, the competence of your intelligence and security agencies, the fact that Mossad was able to build drone sites in your country, the fact that the leadership was asleep in their beds when they were struck and that you ignored these warnings.
She's basically talking about a terrorist act committed by Israel assassinating people in a sovereign country out of the blue. She's talking about it in like, isn't that cool? Wow, look how cool things Israel did and Iran couldn't stop it. If you had an iota of strength or courage or morality, you'd be like, what the fuck is Israel doing? But of course, she's taking the opposite tact of Iran clearly just has to admit Israel's awesome, dude.
Can we talk a little bit about the fact that the regime was taken completely by surprise and top leaders have now been decapitated and killed as a result of the Israeli attack?
Saying regime, I think it helps you contain your contempt for independent countries. You after all, you work for Sky News. It's understandable. But the regime, how do you know that the Israeli regime had bases inside Iran? You're just repeating their propaganda. Of course, Israel for you is not a regime. Sorry, it's a state.
Of course, he's making the point that you only use the term regime about countries you're trying to make sound scary, whereas Israel, which is not a democracy, it's an apartheid state. You can't be an apartheid state and a democracy. Democracy is a vote by all, not a vote by just Jewish Israelis. It's not a democracy. It's an apartheid theocracy. But, that's not called a regime. Only Iran's called a regime, or Venezuela's called a regime, even though Venezuela has more reliable elections than the United States does. So bad guys are regimes. The good guys are democratic institutions.
But it's a genocidal state carrying out extermination in Gaza, but that's not really important. But how do you know?
So are you denying that the top commanders have been killed? Are you denying that top commanders were killed?
Oh, so you mean what you're referring to basically is an attack, an act of aggression that they suddenly fire missiles at civilian targets at apartment buildings and slaughter people in those apartment buildings, slaughtering whole families. For you, that's targeting. That's a really sophisticated act.
But if I can just, if I could.
Yeah, you'd think she might also care about that angle of it, that Israel was bombing civilians. Does that matter anymore? Are we discussing that as if it matters anymore? No, we're just moving into this new world where blowing up civilians is fine. It's just, 100 people died mysteriously. They killed, the latest numbers are like Israel killed 270 Palestinians in the past week. And it's like a blip because 270 out of 55,000 dead from bombs, but 350,000 dead from bombs, famine, disease, everything else in Gaza. So, they only killed 100 civilians, innocent people, only 20 children with that bomb. Wow. That's so nice of them.
I can just ask, have military facilities been hit? Have nuclear facilities been hit?
One of the buildings that has some of these commanders, one or two of these commanders, was a large apartment building where they killed everyone, 60 people, 20 children. That's not important for people like you, but that's important for people like us. For you, people like you who support ethnosupremacism and the chosen people being able to slaughter and exterminate
Professor
Palestinians.
Marandi, I'm just trying to get the perspective.
You can tell she's a little, she swallowed hard when he said, you who support ethnosupremacism. And she's kind of shocked at having these accusations thrown at her because in her mind, probably what she's doing is just pushing forward these viewpoints from her news channel, Sky News, which is right-wing news. She doesn't think of herself as supporting ethnosupremacism. Of course, that's what it is when you actually break it down. If you think that Israel should just have the right to blow up and obliterate other countries because it feels like it, well, that's actually ethnosupremacism because it is an ethno-state, and you're saying it has the supreme right to kill, maim, ethnically cleanse anyone. And she's shocked to hear herself defined that way. But if you actually break down what it is she's asking, how she's asking it, how she's couching these questions, that's what it is.